Greetings, past, present, and future animators. Welcome to the world of animation. In this series of 4 short clips, I will be sharing with you the process of 2D digital frame-by-frame animation. The first video will be about the software introduction and quick tutorial. The second video, idea brainstorming and sketching. Third video, cleanup, colors and effects. And fourth video, export and finish. All these videos are made so that anyone, from beginner to advanced, can follow and animate together with me. You start the process with an idea. It can be rough and approximate. However, to start fully animating and planning how it will look like, you will need it to be a little bit more detailed. I will show you how to work with ideas and convert or visualize them into an animation. But before we dig into that, let's discuss a few crucial aspects of animation that will be used in this video. There's a total of 12 principles created and shared by the legendary animators Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston. However, I'll be going through only the ones that I will be using in my video the most. Straight ahead and pose-to-pose animation styles. Straight ahead is animating as you go, frame by frame. It is good for unpredictable or constantly changing motions like dance, fire, or explosion. Pose-to-pose animation is a process of animating from key pose to key pose. Blank frames between the key poses are called in-betweens, and they are divided into secondary poses, or extremes, and breakdowns, extreme in-betweens. Follow-through and overlapping motion. Follow-through is the movement of the main body's part that corresponds to the movement of the main body, according to physics. Smaller, lighter parts follow the heavier main body that they're attached to. For example, the movement of a seal's head makes its whiskers follow through. Overlapping motion is the offset between the timing of the main body and its other parts that follow. Anticipation, the stretching or condensing of time of a certain movement to foreshadow a dynamic change. It's the slowing down of a squish to underline the upcoming fast stretch. For example, a person squatting for a long time just to shoot upwards in a split frame. Arcs. Most creatures move in circular paths called arcs. Their movement is therefore smooth and natural. Now that we've gone through some of the main principles, let's begin the first part of the animation process. I use Pencil 2D for animation. It's a free animation software available for both Mac and Windows. It's very straightforward and easy to use. It has a super simple layout compared to other programs such as Adobe, Photoshop, or Flash, where different tools are hidden in different windows and setting bars. So this is very straightforward. You have everything available. The layout allows you to see everything that you will be using for the animation process. In order to animate, I am using a Wacom tablet, which is connected to the laptop, and with this, instead of a mouse, I'm drawing with a pen, and the pen allows me to have different options as well. So for example, to draw or pan around. However, right now, in this tutorial, I will be talking about the options that just the software offers. However, for the animation process, I do recommend you to equip yourself with a drawing tablet or a Wacom or whatever company that you choose. It's a lot easier and faster to basically do the whole animating process. So now going back to the Pencil 2D software. The most important factor of 2D digital frame-by-frame animation are drawing tools, eraser, onion skin, timeline. First, I will compare the 3 drawing tools. So Pencil 2D offers 3 drawing tools. It's the pencil, which is best for sketching because it has a low opacity. You can do different shapes and it seems very sketch-like. The pressure decides how much opacity or how transparent the line will be. If you get rid of that pressure, it's going to be the same opacity all along. So it's a really nice tool for sketching and for the whole storyboard or animatic in your animation. The brush is a little bit harder. However, there is an option of feather. So right now the option of feather is not checked, so just the size is determined by the pressure. So if I press harder, the brush is going to be thicker. If I do it really soft, it's gonna be thin. But if I check the feather and play around with this option, you can see how these rings around the selection tool get larger or smaller. That means that the brush tool will also play around with the opacity. So not only the width, but also the opacity of the brush will play around. So it's a nice tool to play around or do brush strokes with. I also recommend it. But for outlines, what I use mainly is the pen tool. The pen tool is a really nice tool because it's rigid, it's very hard. It has the pressure option, so if you don't press that hard, it can be thin. If you press harder, it's gonna be thicker. And it doesn't have that feather or opacity option that the other two do. So I mainly use pen for outlines. I mainly use pencil for sketching and brush for coloring or backgrounds. The other tools, of course, the eraser, selection tool. If you want to select a certain portion, move it. No, sorry, you move with this tool. If you want to just select it, you can also delete it by pressing backspace. Bucket tool, if you have, for example, a shape and you want to fill it with a particular color, you can do it with the bucket tool. You can do geometric shapes with the polymer tool. You can move around the canvas with the hand tool, eye picker, brush, and smudge when it comes to outline and colors. Now, those are the tools that are available. However, what I mostly use is a selection tool to select certain places to move around, the drawing tools, eraser, and bucket when it comes to color afterwards. So now that we're done with the tools, let's quickly look at the shortcuts. It's also very important to know the shortcuts, as it will increase the speed of your animation process. So basically there are different letters that are assigned to different options. If you're opening Pencil for the first time, Pencil 2D for the first time, Pencil will have the letter N next to it. But I changed that to another option, which I will be talking very briefly in a second. So in order to speed up your whole animation, instead of just clicking on the toolbar here, you just press the letter. If you want to assign other options to other letters, and I highly recommend you to do so, you go to Preferences, you scroll down to Shortcuts, and now you have a nice list of things that you can add a shortcut to. For me, an important one is adding a frame. I went and gave it N because it makes me think of new. If you want to add a new one, just press clear, press on the shortcut option, just press the letter that you want to assign it to, and bam, that's it. So I would recommend you to assign a letter for this particular option for adding a frame, because you will be using that a lot in your process. Another option that I did add a certain letter to is the onion skin previous. So if I press O, I can see the onion skin for the previous frames. If I press it again, I don't. For the next one, I will assign another letter shortly. However, right now I just don't have enough alphabet letters to assign it to. And the last one is the play button. So on the timeline you see over here, there's a play button here. However, it's a lot faster to look at your animation if you have a specific letter assigned to it or a key assigned to it. For me, it's space. I recommend you to either use space or enter. Either of them are very, very easy to remember as your play buttons. So those are the most important shortcuts that I use, and I suggest you to make use of them as well. Now let's dig in towards the timeline section. Animation is the distribution of still images, which are called frames, played at a given speed, measured by frames per second on a timeline. Now the frames are set on the timeline over here. The red column that you see, it is the navigator and the present time navigator. It basically shows you at which given frame you are at. On the timeline you can see that 1 second is 12 frames. You can of course change this into whatever speed you want to. However, the ones that are used the most is 10, 12, 24, 25, 29, 30, 60. So whichever you want to choose, you can do it. However, for the sole purpose of having a quick tutorial, I did 12. So as you can see, the timeline is divided into seconds. So 12 first second, 24 second, third second, fourth second, and so on. You can zoom in and out, seeing how much can fit into your timeline. There is a limit. In the settings, you can change that. An important factor of the timeline and animation are, of course, the frames, so the still images. And they are laid out on a timeline which is horizontal. So the first frame, the first image will be here, second image will be there, third image will be here, and so on and so on. In order to make your animation, you will be drawing on each frame. So right now, as you see, this square over here is your frame. So you can draw on this one. Let's say it's going to be a falling ball. So it will start here. In order to draw the next frame, however, you need to add a new frame. You either do this by pressing this key. If you want to delete it, press this one. If you have assigned a new letter, you can also press that and it will create a new frame as well. And you can see that by the next box that just appeared. Only when you have the next box visible, only then you can draw. So now you made the third frame, you can draw another image, press N. For me, N is new frame. I press N and I make a new frame and I draw another one, and so on. You see the red images and now you see blue images. What I've drawn, so what is in present time, is the brown colored ball. That is what's in the present time. However, red is what happened before and blue is what will happen in 2 frames. This is what we call the onion skin. We can turn this off by clicking those 2 buttons and clicking anywhere else on the timeline. Now you see just the present time drawings. However, animation works beautifully with onion skin because it makes your movement more clear and a lot more understandable where you need to draw when you know what is before or what will be after. Now that I have assigned play to my space button, I can just press space and you have the animation. Now with the frames, you can also add blank frames, which are made by just making new frame and not drawing anything on it. It's important to know this because if, for example, I would move the last frame, let's say over here, the last frame is a blank frame. However, the second to last frame was the last piece of the ball, and for the next 2 frames, it is held in the same place. So instead of the blank space over here on the timeline being blank, it is with the drawn image of the previous frame. So if you want to end an animation with a blank frame, it's important to add another frame and then just delete everything that is on it. That way, you have an animation with an end. Now, if you want to loop an animation, there is a button here, or you can also press whatever shortcut you assign to it. I think the default mode is Command L. Yep, that's it. And again, if you press, it's gonna go on forever. Now, going back to onion skin. So I have assigned O for my past ones, and I have not assigned for my next ones. Now you can see those gray areas. There are 2 gray boxes before and 2 gray boxes after. That means that my range of onion skin will cover 2 frames before and 2 frames after the present time, the present frame I'm at right now. This, of course, may change depending on how many frames you have. And for example, if you want to be on the 6th frame and you want to see how many frames before, or for example, what position the ball was at on the 1st frame, you will have to increase that range by 1, 2, 3 more. And to change the range of your onion skin, you go to Preferences, Tools, and here you have two options: number of previous onion frames shown. So instead of 2, we can make that 5, and now 5 will show. The same can be applied for the ones in front of the present time or present frame. However, I like working with just 2 of them before and 2 of them after right now, just for the sole purpose of showing you how this works. Another interesting option in onion skins is the color. You can click those 2 options here, which will add color to your onion skin. Right now, what the onion skin does is makes the color more transparent for the previous and past frames. However, if you are doing a lot of motion and your characters, for example, are all over the place on your canvas, it is nice to distinguish what motion has been done before and what motion will be done afterwards. For this, you can use the colors. So the red ones will show you which ones have been already done, and the blue ones will show you which are the motions that will be done in the next few frames. It is very convenient as it shows you where to work at a given moment. Another option for onion skin that is important to know is how it works with different breaks on the timeline. So as I've mentioned before, it is possible to move those frames along the timeline. So let's say you can move a frame here to the 10th frame. But for example, right now I want to move 2 frames. So what I can do is just select both of them holding Shift and then letting go and then just moving them around. And now you can see what is happening with those gray boxes. So the onion skin in this software has 2 options, showing you the onion skin of just the frames or showing you the onion skin of the whole timeline. By clicking this option over here, onion skin, you make the option switch to timeline. So right now, onion skin will show you only the space that has the range that you selected in the preferences. It's again very convenient if you work with different spacing, with different timing on different canvases, as well as if you have a lot of frames and you just want to make sure that your characters are in the right position, in the right location. Since we understand the way the software works with the frames and the onion skin, the last thing is just to give you a heads up of what the layers here mean. So the bitmap layer is what we will be drawing on, and what I draw on when I do frame by frame animation, hand drawn. However, there's also an option for doing vector layers. However, that is something that I won't be using, that's why I can delete this layer. The camera layer here is the one that represents how the video will look like after being exported. For now, it's basically the same as the bitmap layer. However, if more bitmap layers, for example with color or shadow, will play along this timeline, then the camera layer might have a different output. And it's always nice to look how your final animation will look like by combining all the layers that you have been working on. Great! This is so far all you need to know about the Pencil 2D software. We have just completed the first part of the animation process, and we're ready for the next one. For now, thanks for watching and tune in for the next video.